Thank you, Steve. Welcome to everyone who's tuning in to this webinar. We're really excited to be presenting this topic, and the voice you're hearing right now is David Bebe.
And I'm Sean McClowry here.
And we thought we'd start just by letting you know what you're in for, and if you are indeed the kind of person who would be interested in this webinar. So on this first panel that we have, we thought these were some good questions. How can I make myself eligible for jobs in higher education? What are the advantages of being a multifaceted musician? What combination of skills are colleges and universities looking for in applicants?
And also, just to highlight something in that second question, perhaps what are the disadvantages sometimes being a multifaceted musician? Maybe we can address that a little bit as well. So we'll be focusing our discussion on three general areas. First, we'll look at some job descriptions, particularly job descriptions in the recent academic job market. And we'll look at several of those, and these are jobs that highlight a call for a multifaceted musician, and sometimes it's interesting what universities put together in their job requests. So we'll look at some of those. We'll also talk about our own job descriptions at the College of St. Rose and what we do there, and perhaps what the job description was when we actually applied for those positions. The second area are ways of developing as a multifaceted musician. We'll talk about some of the ways that our own development took place in our biographies, our stories, and our journey as musicians and teachers and students as well. And then the last thing, we'll talk about applying for jobs in higher education, what you can expect, maybe some of the nuances in that application process, perhaps the interview process. And we would, of course, at the end appreciate your questions on any of these particular areas if you have some questions that we may not have addressed.
So in general, as we start in on this discussion, you know, we're gearing our discussion towards people who are interested in teaching in higher education or interested in becoming more diverse musically, and you can see how those two activities really can complement each other, and certain colleges are looking for people who can do multiple things. The college that we teach at, the College of St. Rose, is in Albany, New York, and it's a small liberal arts college of about 5,000 students. In our music department, we have over 200 students. I think it's around 215. And our major focuses, I should say, are music industry and music education. Those are the majority of the majors at our school. And with this small group of students, we also have a small faculty. So we have approximately 12 full-time faculty members. Sean, you can correct me if I'm wrong on any of these numbers.
Sounds right.
And so just having this small faculty and this student body of 215, give or take, we were expected to teach a lot of different classes and a lot of different topics. So as Steve mentioned in the introduction, I'm the string coordinator. That entails that I contact all of the other string faculty. It's a lot of administrative work, a lot of emails, make sure people's lessons, concerts, everything is going well, schedule juries. I'm the orchestra director, so it's everything that encompasses there, from managing the library to actually making music. Cello instructor, a theory and ear training, and string methods, and chamber music. So the one that kind of pops out there as being a little bit more unique is probably the theory and ear training. And I think you'll see that that's a pretty common combination of when they're looking for someone with multiple skills, that you have an applied area and you can have theory and ear training, or you can have music history. But on top of that, I also am a cellist and a conductor, so that really helped me find my place at this college.
And then on the music industry side, I teach recording engineering, which is within our recording studio here at the College of St. Rose, and that includes some technology, should we say, maintenance, along with just teaching the class, sort of making sure everything's running and doing updates when that needs to be done. I also teach double bass and electric bass, songwriting, courses in songwriting, courses in music business, a chamber jazz ensemble, and record production. Yeah.
Yeah, so as you can see with our job descriptions, there's definitely a mix of skills, and we're going to talk a little bit later about how we personally developed those diverse set of skills and our own path. But before we do that, we wanted to look at some other job descriptions so you can see what's currently happening in higher education and what kind of jobs are out there. With this next part of the discussion, we're going to actually go through a number of job descriptions that have been advertised online, and I went through and I picked the ones that demonstrated diverse set of skills and where a multifaceted musician would really have a benefit in applying for these jobs. Of course, there were a lot of jobs that were more traditional and focused mainly on one field, but these really do give you a view into what's happening for the multifaceted musician in academia. So you want to read this first one?
Sure. Okay, so we just have generic titles for these. These are jobs that that did in fact exist, but we've omitted the names of the schools. This first school here, the responsibility is a sort of a composition theory track, teaching composition lessons, courses in beginning composition, arranging, instrumentation, counterpoint, computer music, acoustics, music theory, and then this is pretty common, just depending on the strengths and interests of the candidate, maybe specializations. Maybe this is a place where the candidate is allowed to specialize in additional class of music theory or anything else related to that. So this seems like a pretty a typical job for the multifaceted brand, I would say, but not an atypical job.
Right, and so is the job in Massachusetts, to teach undergraduate subjects in Western music and in other areas of specialization, music theory, music technology, interdisciplinary studies, composition, or performance. Even with these really basic ones, which we're starting off with, which are more typical of the kind of diversity expected at the college level, I don't think that you can necessarily acquire all of these skills by getting a single degree. It's very difficult to do that. So, I mean, if you're in your graduate studies right now and you're looking at that, like, how can I do that? Hopefully we can give you some ideas a little bit later in the webinar on how to acquire these skills. Let's move on. Okay, here's another job description. This one is for a choral person. Responsibilities include conducting the chorale and the women's choir, assisting with the chamber choir, recruiting and developing ensembles in conjunction with the director of choral activities, integrating technology into rehearsal and performance, and collaborating with ensembles and technology faculty in the School of Music. There are additional opportunities to develop ensembles in the candidate's area of interest, including hybrid vocal instrumental technology configurations. Additional teaching assignments may be drawn but are not limited to the comprehensive musicianship, music technology, chamber music, and music literature pending individual interests and expertise. So this one starts to get a little bit more unique. And so definitely with the technology side, maybe Sean can speak to this.
Right. Technology, I think you'll find, if for those of you on the job market, that that's a buzzword that is really thrown around a lot. And I think for the multifaceted musician and academic, it behooves you to get specific about technologies that you use and list them on your resume or demonstrate that you have experience with technologies. That could be just basic computing and using it in the classroom, but it could also, I think in many of these, as you've seen, go into the area of electronic music. Something, if you're a performer or a composer, to bring an electronic music track into your work, I think it demonstrates, is one way of demonstrating that you have a firm grasp on technology, and it's a good way to really alter your own work just by adding this one other facet to your. Now let's see. Let's go on to this next one here. Okay, we've bolded some areas of interest. If you just go down to this bold area where it says major ensembles directed by faculty, include the orchestra, concert choir, Highland Camerata, Chinese music ensemble, jazz big band, African music ensemble, and pipe band. So this really says to me that this music department at this college in Minnesota, although they're looking for a choral conductor, they're also looking for somebody perhaps not to run these ensembles, but to have a real understanding of these ensembles and respect for their traditions. And I would assume that in working with one's colleagues at a college like this, that in the interview process they might consider someone who might demonstrate that they have a desire to collaborate with these ensembles or bring these ensembles together. Now, going further, the applicants whose teaching complements the department offerings in musicology, theory, and general music, along with excellent technical and communicative skills on the podium, several qualities are extremely desirable in candidates, above all an appreciation for liberal arts education, a passion for teaching, and a recognition of the unique challenges and rewards of leading undergraduate and undergraduate-only musical ensembles. Another buzzword here, I think is relevant for our own college, the College of St. Rose, is this liberal arts education. I think this is the case often in small colleges. Small liberal arts colleges typically are looking for somebody who wears many hats. A liberal arts school will have multiple departments and would be the school maybe that would have a unique program that's custom tailored to the needs of a university like a liberal arts school where students are taking a core curriculum of liberal arts credits that all students are engaged in.
And you can tell by the diversity of the ensembles, as Sean was saying. How do you find someone who has experience in all these diverse types of music? And certainly, if you had a musicology background, a world music background, you would be very, interested candidate in this. But you also, as it states at the bottom, have to have those very, I guess, what we would consider more traditional conducting skills, or the technical communicative skills on the podium. And like he was saying, integration into the liberal arts education as a whole. So I'd say three real different areas in this one.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And here is even another, or as we said, yet another job description. This one's coming from the West Coast. It's an applied instrument and music history. So this is similar to the first one we looked at, where you have an instrument and you have either theory or history, similar to my job in many ways as well. So you have to teach studio, clarinet, serve as a woodwind area coordinator, supervise woodwind ensembles, classical saxophone as part of your studio duties, teach woodwind methods, instrumental pedagogies. Other classroom teaching responsibilities include history, musicology courses in standard Western track, or others such as world music, American music, or other appreciation surveys. So with this job, you could be doing music appreciation, you could be doing music history, all these musicology ideas, as the title of the position states. But instrumental pedagogy and methods, I mean, that's an area. I see the saxophone there, I see the woodwind methods. Doublers, people who can play multiple instruments, woodwinds, are going to really look attractive for this. And that's where, if you're a multifaceted musician with a certain unique set of skills, jobs like this come along, and you've done the musicology degrees and you play multiple instruments, this could look, really like it's right up your alley. Okay, let's go on to even one more job description.
Okay, so this school in Hawaii, college job in Hawaii, the composition program resonates with the multicultural resources of Hawaii. I couldn't be more specific there. A cultural interchange in composition. Okay, as such, we are particularly interested in a composer/teacher of outstanding potential and achievement who has demonstrated interest and experience in cross-fertilization between Western compositional practices and Pacific and Asian cultures. So if the others weren't specific enough, now it gets very specific. Here, your duties: teach theory and composition courses at bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels, including thesis and dissertation direction. Engage in professional composition activities, serve as on departmental and university committees, engage in program building initiatives, other duties assigned by chair. Another point I want to highlight here are perhaps the advantages of having experience in teaching bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels. Yet another element here to be discussed, but nonetheless, it seems as though someone who actually has experience with that would be at an advantage, in addition to having experience to all the other elements listed above.
Right, and I do see that we forgot to highlight the second to last sentence, which does say teaching of composition and theory, including advanced theory topics at the graduate level. So certainly you could be a candidate for this job if you have a composition degree or a theory degree or a musicology degree or multiple degrees. There are a number of colleagues here at the College of St. Rose who have a degree in education and then a degree in performance and then a degree in theory. That really has served them well in this small school where you have to do a variety of things.
And then this secondary background, it says at the bottom, in film music, jazz or performance is also desirable.
Yeah. So there's probably someone out there listening and watching this webinar thinking, yes, that's me, and I might be the only person out there that has those skills. So let's, okay, well, really, we have one more job description before we talk about how to acquire those skills. So go ahead.
Okay. We seek an active performing concert pianist with significant public profile and credentials, ability to collaborate with colleagues, chamber music accompanying in off-campus recitals and performances, possible subspecialty in jazz. Remember, sometimes these things don't go together traditionally, so it can't be taken for granted that a possible subspecialty in jazz might actually weed out quite a few people. Artist-level teacher, demonstrate experience as a supervisor studio teacher, so somebody who's really taken some real pedagogy training and can demonstrate that on their resume. Ability to serve a classroom teacher for courses in piano repertoire, pedagogy, class piano, and courses in other secondary musical areas, and or liberal arts common curriculum.
Okay, so now we're going to go into the next part of our discussion, which is acquiring these diverse set of skills. The first bullet point we have there is follow your interests, and that is a great way to explore and keep yourself recharged and motivated and be doing something that you love while developing some of these crucial skills. And we saw a lot of technology. We just saw a lot of pedagogy. We saw administrative skills required. So if any of those things just happen to interest you, and you're in the process of getting a doctorate or a master's, and you're looking at teaching at a college, I suggest that you really spend some time with those interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this can't be underestimated. I had a close friend who was interested in radio production and got a small job at his university. I think it was just volunteer, working at his university radio station, and was able to put together his career by bringing his experience as a classical musician into that forum. But it just came from a basic interest in it. I think some of our own, my own at least, career steps have just come from basic interests in something like a kind of music that I just like to listen to on my headphones, and then it turned into later on something that I would really take a moment to study. So follow your interests is pretty important. Pursue passions outside your specialty. Let's see, you got something to say about it?
Yeah, so pursuing passions outside of your specialty. I mean, it is pretty much tied into that first one, except if you're following interests along line of your specialty, that's not going to make you very diverse. So you do want to actively think about what is outside of my degree, what out of the theory, history, pedagogy areas that colleges are really looking for am I passionate about and is not my specialty. And you may find that you have an opportunity to do a minor or a cognate or an apprenticeship or even a special research project, something that you're going to be able to have that that is going to be able to be a material or a real hands-on experience that shows you've pursued something outside of your degree, your major. And so the next one, take risks and take advantage of opportunities that come your way. And before I turn that over to Sean, I'll just say take advantage of really anything that comes your way that may diversify you. You don't think that it's not going to help you in the long run or that it's not applicable for you because, well, I believe from my own experience that everything that you do will be used at some point in your life. It might not be right away, it may be many years down the road, but all of those experiences that you have become a part of you and come into play at some point. So even if you think you're above it, even if you think, oh, I don't need to go teach theory to these children, if there's an opportunity to teach theory at a local music store or something like that because I'm getting my doctorate in conducting. Well, hey, that might turn into something really important and it'll give you a lot of teaching experience for who knows what, but these things do come back.
Mm-hmm. I'll just take that to transition into our next topic here, talk about our stories. My story was that I was a classical and jazz musician, composer, and I went to college to study those things at a conservatory. I thought that my career would end up in the traditional realm that my teachers were instructing me to go in, so either um, moving to become a jazz freelance musician or maybe an orchestral musician taking auditions, and I studied both of those things. Now, along the way, um, I was taking auditions and playing my gigs, and I moved to New York to freelance as a musician, and I discovered all these other kinds of music that were alive and exciting in New York, particularly singer-songwriters, bands, traditional Irish music, and it just opened up a new world to me to see that there were all these other exciting musical traditions that I didn't really get a chance to learn about in school, and I definitely didn't have the understanding that they were legitimate career paths or that they could be facets to my own career. So at some point I sort of became unleashed from my traditional path and began pursuing pop music and working with bands and singer-songwriters and playing with groups and then writing my own songs and then eventually recording, all while continuing my path as a composer in academia. And so now, being near the completion of my degree as a composer, I'm able to put together all these interests, having just dabbled in a few things and then taken some things very, very seriously. The things I took seriously, I took lessons with professionals, I met with people, I went to conferences, I had lunch with people, I would go out for drinks with people, I would I just took an approach to try to be very relational and to allow a lot of people to speak into my life and to learn from them, just in a very human and relational way. And I found that to be very exciting, and it really helped guide my career in a new direction. And so now what I do here at the college, teaching, I'm teaching mostly pop music and some jazz, and it's really taken a turn in direction that I did not expect it to go in, but here we are.
This is David again. I was interested in both cello and voice when I was in high school, and then I went to Interlochen Arts Academy for voice, and then I took a year off, and then I ended up going to Indiana University as a cello performance major. While I was there, I went to their pre-college program, which is the String Academy, and I asked to volunteer because I was very interested in working with young children. Now, this wasn't any part of my classes. I wasn't required to do this. It was just something that I was interested in. And that decision to go and volunteer really did change my life, because I ended up getting a teaching assistantship for my master's at Indiana, so I stayed there and being a teaching assistant for Mimi Zweig. And then after that, I got a job teaching cello at the String Academy of Wisconsin at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and that was a wonderful thing. So the way I got my first job, really it was related to, of course, a cello performance degree, but it was more because I actively pursued something that I was interested in, which is teaching young children the cello. And then I was in Milwaukee for 4 years, and then I got married, and my wife had the opportunity to play with the New World Symphony in Miami, Florida. And of course I wanted to follow her and be with her, and I decided, hey, I'll go back to school and get my doctorate, you know, just to keep me busy and off the streets, right? So I ended up getting my doctorate, and while I was down there, and having a wonderful time at the University of Miami, one fantastic cello teacher there. I was taking a conducting class, and the conducting professor really saw potential in me, and he encouraged me to do more of it. And he gave me some opportunities, and I'm forever grateful. And when I graduated, before I graduated, this job came up at the College of St. Rose for a conductor. and a cellist. Now, if I hadn't had taken those conducting classes and happened to take advantage of some of these small opportunities that he, or actually some of them weren't small, these great opportunities he threw my way, I wouldn't be in the fortunate situation that I am. And maybe we didn't point this out at the beginning, but we both did start our positions, our current positions, this year. So this is kind of a fresh topic for us. And definitely, I feel incredibly lucky. I know that it's so difficult right now. So that really is the point of this webinar, to hopefully help some people find their way into work, finding work.
Now, it's just some specific ways, maybe we can give little anecdotes for this, but some ways to develop a diverse set of musical skills. I know that there's plenty of colleagues who maybe are looking for that, or trying to add to their own work and career, what it is, some extra things or some multifaceted musical activities. Play gigs. Play the good ones and play the bad ones. I mean, I can't list all the times that I've played bad gigs, some gigs not paying, and just made a friend out of it that ended up leading to a good gig, or it sort of put me in a community of people who I really enjoyed being with, and that community ended up being a great thing to be involved in. I can't stress this part enough, and it's just, as musicians, it's the place that we get to be musicians both practically and relationally, and it at times can be frustrating, but as far as developing a musical diversity of musical skills, it's perhaps a way that you have no choice on what music you're going to play at gigs. I used to play these gigs with this Ethel Merman impersonator, and I would never have done that. I'd never have chosen that, but it was a way to really meet some people who ended up being, I'm thankful that I've met them in my life.
The next one, observing teachers, is also just very enriching, besides learning a lot potentially about an area that you would like to strengthen. If you'd like to, if you're a wind player and you want to be a doubler, or if you want to have multiple skills in different areas, just observing teachers and seeing how they teach and learning from them. And that it's also another way, just like with playing the gigs, you meet people, and if people are open to that and you like their teaching style, that's incredibly helpful. And then the next one is, the third bullet point is learning other styles of music.
Now, and I think especially learning other styles of music to which your instrument is a real contributor to. Being a bass player, I have the advantage of that being many, many styles of music, but if a violinist could pick all kinds of fiddle traditions to learn about, and even stepping into a situation where you're a novice, it can be daunting, but I think it's comforting when in my experience, it's always been comforting to come to those situations and realize that musicians are very relational and collaborative just by their nature, and stepping into a place, maybe a bar, where fiddle players are playing some sort of traditional music, even as a novice, it gives you an entree into that world, into an understanding of what that world's all about, and it really helps ignite you to really learn about those styles of music. And it's helpful to be a well-rounded musician in that regard.
Get to know the musicians around you. That one's somewhat self-explanatory, but we just did want to put it in there. You can just, like Sean was saying, make a positive connection no matter what opportunity you're doing. If you're doing a gig and you have a bad attitude about it and you think you deserve better, The musicians around you, they're going to know that, they're going to feel that, and they're not going to want to work with you again. Now, how does that relate to job and higher education? You know, everyone has connections, and everyone can offer opportunities. So it's just get to know the musicians around you and just try to create positive connections.
Take lessons. I mean, oftentimes, especially freelance musicians or others that work in the field professionally, have time to devote to something like that. I took lessons with some professional recording engineers and music producers who they don't really give lessons. It's not even their thing, but I just approached them and said, hey, you know, I'd love to learn from you, and it was just I found that it was a great way to learn a really specialized craft with someone who was an expert. So you might get shot down a couple times, but I think for the most part, like 80% of the time, somebody will meet with you for a lesson.
And the last one is learn a new instrument. So I think we've kind of
although I'll just elaborate on this a little bit. I did a master class with Edgar Meyer, and somebody was very nervous, and he was asking Edgar, what do I do about nerves? And his solution was to learn a new instrument. And he suggested, you know, like pick up the banjo or the mandolin or something, and maybe just, you know, learn music for fun again. Just have something that's a fun instrument. So this could be helpful to the job market, but it also could just be enriching to yourself as a musician in a serious music career.
So here are some ways to develop a diverse set of non-musical skills, which are a huge part of your job teaching in higher education. There's so much that we do that is non-musical. A web presence, and Sean, maybe you should talk about that.
This, I mean, I know a lot of times this is one of the things that is stressed. I think the main thing that I think is becoming more important is a website or a web area that you as an artist or an academic manage yourself. I think we're getting past the trend where we would pay somebody to do a website, and now a lot of people are just learning it themselves through blog software, which is free, by the way, WordPress. I think there's some other ones, Blogspot. And there's a lot of information on the web to help somebody get started and to learn it by themselves. It's a journey, and it's fun, it's frustrating, but on the job market, having something where your job committee can look at and get to know you a little bit personally is helpful. And that can go beyond just photos and music clips, but also just you talking about, you know, a story that you that happened at your gig, or some anecdote that somebody really might get to know you that way and resonate with you.
Plus, all of this work really pays off in your interview. I mean, when you have all this stuff online, it's very helpful.
People do look at it.
They do, yeah, and certainly I had developed a website for my cello method that I wrote as a dissertation for my doctorate, and that really made an impact when I showed them that website in my interview. The next one, social networking, we've talked about quite a bit, I think. Conferences and organizations, we put that in there mostly because it can give you some regional recognition. If you present at a conference, if you do some sort of organizing, it does give you a lot of you know, a certain status, and it looks really good that you have those organizational skills and presentation skills.
Apprenticeship work, this could be something that maybe you apply for, or as simple as if you're learning some sort of skill, you could just say to a person like, hey, can I shadow you for a few days, or for one day, or for a few hours, whatever it is, whatever's appropriate to the work. And oftentimes that is just enough to get you started in the area.
And diverse academic interests. there are a lot of jobs that I've seen out there that include women's studies, or some a musical position, but they also need you to teach a liberal arts topic.
Mm-hmm. Also, your committee perhaps will not understand your specialty or be privy to all the nuances of your specialty, but what they will understand is scholarship, or some will understand scholarship, and they'll understand if you have academic interests, it draws attention to sort of a well-rounded academic contributor within their department. And it also is the possibility that you never know that one or two people on the committee might actually resonate with your non-musical academic interests.
And volunteering really goes along with a lot of the other, the taking of lessons, apprenticeship work, social networking. But you can also volunteer in just something you feel passionate about, and you certainly could use a lot of those service learning skills in academia. There's a lot of, that's another buzzword that we're hearing quite a bit, at least on our campus, service learning. So they're interested in people who are doing service learning classes in the community. So for the application process, there are a lot of online resources which hopefully most of you already know about. There's College Music Society, Music Vacancy List.
Let's see, there are even, if you pursue your own specialty, there are even job wikis that I know for the composition theory world, there's a composition theory job wiki where those on the job market will post what jobs are there. They'll post updates, so it might say 10/12, sent out or received rejection letters. So you might say, oh, I didn't receive a rejection letter, so maybe I'm in the second round.
The next bullet point, could I be that person? So as you're reading through these online resources descriptions, just ask yourself, not necessarily are you that person, but could you be that person? Because you start to see a trend, and you can develop those skills that are like a lot of jobs that are you, but just a little twist. Okay, then building a quality portfolio in multiple areas. This is really important, so when you go into your interview, you can not just say that you did stuff on your resume, but actually have concrete material to show them. So as you're out doing any sort of activities, keep a really good record of what you do, and recordings, posters, all those things are important.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. But assuming that you have the ability to actually create a quality portfolio in multiple areas, you'll be ahead of the pack, because it's very, very few people who can demonstrate those competency in multiple areas. The financial investment in your career, spend some money on some things if you have the opportunity, or do some grant writing or fundraising for things that require money, like recordings, photos, or website if that's, yeah.
Again, really good material to have when you go into your interview. Have a flexible resume. So as you develop these different sets of skills, you're going to start to submit different types of resumes for different types of jobs, and the more skills you have, the better. And that's basically it. So we thank you for tuning in, and at this time I believe we're going to open it up for questions. So maybe Steve will talk a little bit about how to do that again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for this presentation. That was very informative, lots of resources and things for all of us to think about. I do again want to encourage people to submit their questions if you have them. And to remind you, there is a question box on your webinar control panel, and if you type something in there and press enter, we'll get it, and we can talk about it with David and Sean. And also, if you prefer to actually ask your question, we can unmute you, and there's a yellow hand button. If you hit that, that'll let us know that you'd like to be unmuted and actually join the discussion here. So feel free to start sending them in. We do have one question that's come in here, and says, what are your hopes and goals for the future? So maybe you both could just talk about that question there.
That's good. This is David. My hopes and goals for the future. That's a really good question. I really just want to be the absolute best teacher that I can be here at the College of St. Rose, which is a challenge because we are so incredibly busy with all these different things that we have. So it's going to be a lifelong challenging goal to develop as a cello instructor, as a string coordinator, as a conductor, as a theory teacher, ear-trained teacher. I feel like I still have a lot to learn. Of course, an immediate goal is tenure, and that process requires that you're very active in a lot of teaching ways and also in a lot of other ways as well. Mm-hmm. How about you, Sean?
I suppose I've been given an opportunity to teach many different classes. Some of them are not initially my specialty, and it's been a learning process to know that. So one class, maybe in particular, I didn't think I would ever teach, and I'm teaching it, and I'm really kind of excited about it. And then some other classes that I could have seen myself teaching several years ago, I'm teaching, and I'm less excited about. And so it gives me the opportunity to really find some of the things that I'm interested in, and to actually find the specialties that I'm excited about and build upon them. I suppose another thing is, which is an advantage of being at a college like this, is getting to collaborate with other teachers who are either working in my field in music industry, or who are my colleagues who deal with our music industry students within their own private lessons. And it's an exciting place to develop curriculum and cool projects and collaborations. And yeah, that's some of the goals for the next coming years, I suppose.
Great. Another question we have coming in here says, you've mentioned the College Music Society as a resource for finding out about higher education opportunities. Can you point to others? And I know, David, you were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, jobs and higher ed jobs, right?
Yeah, higher ed jobs.
I think it's higheredjobs.com.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and
the Chronicle.
The Chronicle is another one.
And then within each individual specialty, a lot of times the societies, like Audio Engineering Society is one that we have, or the Music Industry and Entertainment Educational Association posts jobs. So you might find maybe more specialized job descriptions there.
Yeah, and the catch with some of these is that you have to become a member in order to receive their weekly posting of new jobs. But it's absolutely worth it, and there's an example where an investment really pays off. Mm-hmm. So,
and regionally, universities do accept resumes, and at times they will be looked at. Let's say you've just moved to a region, send your resume out to all the schools there. And I had done the opportunity to do that once, and I did get far more responses than I expected. I thought I would just get sort of a cold shoulder, but I did get a lot of responses and some opportunities from it.
Right, and especially in this economy, colleges may prefer to use adjuncts if it is financially beneficial for them to just cover a few classes. So if you are in an area, you have certain specialties, inform the colleges, like Sean was saying, send in your resume. There might be an adjunct position for you, which is great because, as you could see on a lot of those job descriptions, one of the things is prior experience teaching at a college. So any way you can gain that experience teaching at a college, I would recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times colleges are slow with their planning, so don't underestimate you know, oh, it's August and I'm too late. Well, maybe college is in a desperate situation, and it'd be good for them to hear from you.
Great. Well, actually, that leads perfectly into our next question, which you're talking about a little bit right now. This next question says, is it worth taking a part-time teaching position and hoping that a full-time tenure-track position will become available at that same school, or is it better to step in to a full-time position from the start?
I can speak. This is David Bebe again. Personally, I did exactly that. 2 years ago, I took, well, it was a full-time temporary teaching position here at the College of St. Rose. And I did my absolute best to build up the orchestra program and build the cello studio. And then when my position turned into a tenure-track position, I applied for it. And of course, having that positive connection at the school was an absolute benefit and a huge advantage for me. As far as the part-time, I would say, you know, if it's not conflicting with something else, yes, I would take it, because if you're part-time, colleges, they understand that you're part-time, and they understand that you're going to keep looking for work elsewhere. So you can take that part-time job and continue your application process for a tenure-track position.
Mm-hmm. And get it. And if you do, if you have the opportunity to really get involved at that school, that would be a wise thing to do. As your colleagues, their full-time faculty colleagues at the school will be just the people advocating either for that position becoming a full-time position, or if you are up for the interview, they will perhaps be the people in the interview themselves. So it's good. Sometimes some schools, it's very difficult to teach as an adjunct. Some schools, their structure is such that you really have to grapple with it to know if it's the right thing to do. Yeah.
Excellent. We have a couple more really interesting questions coming in here. The next one says, if you think you have a niche area to address in the professional music field and would like to work with a local college to develop an informal small group session, workshop, who would you initially approach on the music faculty? Would it be the department chair?
I would say yes. I would say because that decision is going to come down to them. Unless I've had string players in the area come and talk to me, and you know, that is the first step as well. I think either one could work. The chair in the end is going to have the real decision whether that program happens or not. If you're talking about creating classes, that becomes a lot trickier because there's a lot of logistics in creating a course, and that's a long-term process because you have to change the actual curriculum at the school. If you want to just do a workshop or a camp or something like that, or a presentation, that can probably happen that semester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. If there's an identifiable person in your specialty or the specialty you're trying to pursue, then find that person at the university. But otherwise, if it's one that you're trying to that you think will enhance the department, go directly to the chair.
Yeah.
Great. So I think we probably have time for one more question. And I'm going to give you guys, I think, the most specific question we have so far. And this one says, I'm a sophomore reading choral music, and I was wondering what the opportunities for research in historical musicology as you see it in the United States. So this person may be outside the United States right now. And how does that apply, how does one apply oneself to this very small field? And they say specifically, even in music of certain couple centuries that they're mentioning, 15th to 16th century. So choral musician looking to study historical musicology, you know, how do they go about that? And they sent in another message here that says they're finding very little support as an undergraduate, and no one seems to know what track they should take.
Well, in all of these specialties, there are, it really would behoove the person to look and find who are the contributors to these specialties and get in direct contact with them. Oftentimes, if it's a real specialty, that person, even if they're the most published, they've written the book on so and so, they're usually really happy to talk to somebody who is young and excited about what it is that they do, because they probably don't have a lot of people to talk to about their specialty. So find that person, and I think that's the best way to create the opportunity, because in most of the time, especially with these academic musicologists or composers, they will have a handle on funding within their department, or maybe they would know that their colleague at another university has great funding, and it's a way for you to get involved with the people who can place you in different places, or at least guide you into the next step.
I can't specifically say what schools, but I would tell that listener to be encouraged. They should be very encouraged, because they already have identified in the question what they're passionate about. So if they know they're passionate about choral music from the 15th century, they're already putting themselves in a smaller group of people, which is a good thing. And like I would do exactly what Sean said, is contact the schools with the best choral departments. If you were looking in the United States, in the United States, research the best choral departments, research the early music choral departments, contact those people, tell them that you're passionate about this, and you want to learn more, and I'm sure you'll hear back. And once you make those connections, start feeding off that that connection, and make it a positive one, and see if you can go to a summer program with that professor, or something like that.
Right.
But that listener already is at a huge advantage, knowing that they're passionate about such a specific topic.
Yes.
Which is great. Yeah.
Great. And actually, another attendee here has written in and said, just adding their thoughts, saying also look at Chorus America and Early Music America, specifically Early Music America being a great resource. So thanks for contributing that too. That sounds like a great idea.
Good. Great. Thank you.
So guys, anything you want to leave us with before we wrap up tonight?
Oops. Well, we just want to say thank you to everybody for listening, and please feel free to contact us. Here are our email addresses that we finally got up there. So don't hesitate to write us an email, and if you have a question that comes up later regarding this topic, and we'd be happy to get back to you. If you want to learn more about the College of St. Rose, the website's right there. I would say I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you found this helpful for you. And yeah, good luck, because it's tough. So we are the lucky ones, and hopefully there's a job out there for you.
Yes, thank you very much.